Here we go for the 42nd Hawaii iOS Developer Meetup. Tonight's topic is code review. So start off with the agenda for tonight. Head to the top. A little bit bigger here. All right, so the quote of the week is by this guy, Jesse Watson. And the quote is, "The most valuable asset in the software industry is a synthesis of programming skill and deep context in the business problem domain in one skull." It's by Jesse Watson in The Hard Thing About Software Development. There's a blog post he posted on LinkedIn. It's pretty great. So we have upcoming meetups on October 26th. I'll be covering Scene Kit on November 2nd. I'll be covering region monitoring with core location. And then on November 9th, O'Neill is going to be covering container views. Right. So this pro tip for this week. So have you ever had some code inside of Xcode and you want to move it up or down? So this is my buddy who prepared programming last night. Showed me this pretty cool tip. So I just want to showcase it real quick. Cool. And I know it's something that's kind of been on his radar for a long time, as he wanted to know how to do this. It's easy to do in Sublime, but a little more difficult to find in Swift or Xcode. So Shift Command Y to bring it down. I'll Command plus to get this a bit bigger. So let's say I want to just move. I don't know why I want to do this, but I'm going to select this line. I want to move it up to right here. Right. So I've selected the line, and for the pro tip for this week, I'm going to hold down Option and Command, and I'm using the left square bracket to move it up. So that's pretty good. You can do a lot of selections on this one. Yeah. And I'm using the right square bracket to move it down.
Oh, I see.
So
yeah, because that's kind of useful instead of having to cut. Right. Copy and cut.
Right.
But at the same time, it's best used for like small programs, right? For small files. If you for large multi-details, it would be difficult.
Right, right. So this is good, I figure, for like moving like a block of
yeah, and small stuff.
Right.
And would you recommend it? Try that with really like a huge file.
Like a whole class.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy to mess up.
So that was a pro tip for this week. Housekeeping. So this is the Hawaii iOS Developer Meetup. We have a Meetup page. Go to that. If you're interested in becoming a member of HICapacity, here, you can go to hicapacity.org/membership. And lastly, the bathroom is to the left of the iLab right here. Finally, I want to share some free tools. We've got Spectacle app, which is really good and free to do window management. Then I'm also using screenhero.com right now. It's a free screen sharing program. So into the agenda. For tonight's agenda, we'll do introductions, and then tonight's discussion topic is going to be code review. So I posted it on the Meetup page in the comments that if you guys had some code you wanted to review, you can bring it in. Give you 20 minutes to just kind of we'll critique it, give some constructive feedback, all that kind of stuff. If no one has any code to review, I'm happy to review some code that I actually just finished working on. Not finished, it's never finished, right?
Yeah, cool.
But we just finished up this contest today, so it's been submitted for a contest, and I'm happy to just like go over that code if no other code comes up today.
Okay, sure.
And then, so future topics, me and Che were talking right before. I just want to talk about this, kind of maybe get a gauge of who's interested in what. Future topics, best practices for creating documentation in Xcode projects. Also thinking about making this code review once a month to kind of take away this fear of it. And then also in the future, doing maybe a talk on protocol-based programming to write once and have something conform to it, a class conform to it. And then finally finding Java docs kind of solution for Swift. So that's the goal for tonight. And we are 4 minutes in. So does anyone want to go first for introductions?
Okay, I'm a developer for 4 years. The project I'm working on is EcoQ. I'm doing the final cleanup before test flight submission. We're almost there. So,
nice. Anybody else want to go?
I program Swift as a hobby, but I got a job right now, so I'm going to be getting mine soon.
All right. Nice. Congratulations.
Neil, been working. It's not bad. Been stuck for about 2 weeks. Finally figured it out. Yeah, it's just kind of passing data when you're not going forward or backwards.
Whoa.
So
okay.
a segue destination doesn't work, and an online segue doesn't work, so how does that work? And I was able to figure it out.
And you figured it out.
I figured it out, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a
It
little,
is notification.
Oh, nice.
It's what I use. Probably not the best, but it's the only way to actually make it work. Protocols didn't work kind of.
oh, it depends on how you set things up.
So the reason for that is because I'm not going forward. I'm not passing, like the same way it's not setting up destinations for the view controller. It's using a dictionary, and because it's using the dictionary, you don't have a place in the prepare or the perform segue to set the delegate destination itself.
Exactly.
If you don't know the way, we're gonna talk like after.
Okay.
Okay, we can talk about that because like the thing is in all my code, if I several places where I can't really show the code, but I can describe what you have to do is if you do manual segues, you gotta call a perform per segue and you gotta get the identifier. And I think your approach, what you need to do is once you get the the string, whatever view controller, and then make sure your identifier is the exact same name as your view controller. I highly recommend it. If you don't, well, you may have issues.
All right. Let's
Yeah,
definitely something to go into.
Yeah.
And you're interested in pursuing that tonight.
Way after. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sure, we can talk about it.
Okay. And then last for introduction, my name is David. I'm from Hawaii. Just finished working on this Tide app. Not really stuck on anything. Actually looking forward to like not coding for a day. That's gonna be nice.
Me too, but
And then I want to learn more about. Really, I'm still stuck on this scroll view with a stack view controller inside of it. Recent win for me is I just finished this project. Very happy about that, and I'm interested in besides programming. I'm really interested in bread making right now. I don't know why. I'm just super
you want to
interested.
eat bread?
I want to make my own bread, like a sourdough bread or something.
Yeah, why not? You
So-
could do what you fit in.
Yeah, right. So okay, that's the introductions, and then so just tonight's discussion topic, very loose to
Yeah.
review code. It sounds like O'Neill has some stuff that we can get right into. And how about let's go from there. So did you want to share on the screen, or how did you want to do it? You're going to work on just a sample project. We can just talk through it. I mean, not sample, but an empty project. Just kind of.
Well, to like recreate it from scratch.
Okay.
If there's a way they can share it and it's not like it's gonna get captured, that'd be awesome.
Okay. So you want to wait till maybe the next hour?
If that works,
Yeah.
that works. Then
Okay,
do
let's
that.
do that. So we have an hour now, though, guys. What do you want to work on? I can show some code, and if you guys want to just look at it for
Yeah,
ways to
exactly.
optimize it, we can do that.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
happy to
look
show
at
the
the
code.
code,
It's
yeah.
fully open. Okay, let's get into it. So I'll do like a brief overview first, and then I'll kind of do like showing the app running. Then I'll do a bird's eye view of how the code's composed, and then I'll pinpoint. I actually have one issue that I really have not been able to solve, and it's just drawing a line on that graph. So that being said, I'll dive into the code. Before I do, any questions or comments before we get started?
Bring it on.
All right, bring it on. Here we go. All right, so this app is called MyTide. I've got it on GitHub. So it's open source. I'm just going to go straight to it. All right. So it is right here. Where is it? Oh, sorry. This one. So
MyTide.
I'm not even going to show the screenshot I have for it because it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot since this very basic graph, right? So maybe some background information, just really quickly, is that there are these ancient Hawaiian fish ponds that are hundreds of years old on many of the islands in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And in order to keep these fish coming back to it, these ancient Hawaiians have figured out a way to combine salt water and fresh water into a brackish water that can really allow for a lot of cultivation of the weed, or like seaweed, that brings the fish into this kind of held spot. And then they grow, and then there are holes in there that allow the fish to leave. So once they get to a certain size, they can't leave because they've gotten too big.
Right.
So the idea behind this app is to allow ancient Hawaiian fish pond owners, specifically He'ia Fish Pond out in Kaneohe, to monitor how much water is coming in to each of these holes in the fish pond.
Right.
So here we go. So I have this on my own computer right now. I'm going to build it to a simulator, and then I'll just kind of walk you guys through it. So Command R to run it, coming up in the simulator right now. Just waiting for it. It's launching. It's tying behind here. There we go. Okay, so here's the app. It's going to just take us into a map view. Behind the scenes, I have a few struts that hold locations. So I'm going to zoom in a bit right into the Makaha. So it's kind of where the thing is coming in.
Right.
So here's Hania Fish Pond right here.
Right.
And if you actually walk in the spot, there's a rock wall that goes like this.
Right.
So this is the one that we're going to be checking on, and it's Makaha 1. It's called Hihimanu at Hania Fish Pond.
Right.
So just easily going into it, it brings up this. My auto layout is off right now.
Just a little.
I've just been building for racing toward finishing the app, just trying to get that done. The auto layout's just a bit off. So now what this does is it gets a week's worth of data. So this is historical data with 0.7 being at the specific time. I also added a touch behavior here.
Right.
So now on Monday at 12:52 p.m. on 10/16, the depth to water from this sensor that's watching the water come through is at 0.7 feet.
Right.
The temperature at that spot is 27.2 Celsius.
Right.
And I'm pretty proud of this one. Just kind of like making it easy, quick, immediate transition from Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Yep.
It also works for feet to meters. I mean, it's an easy programming thing, but I'm really proud of it. And then salinity parts per 1,000, I believe.
Right.
And this just kind of changes
Me like it.
Yeah.
Me like it.
And then just a dismiss right here. It's just being presented modally. So the issue I'm coming into right now, and might be one point for us just to bounce off of, is you see that dotted line?
Yeah.
It's meant to be a straight line
Right.
on the left-hand side. That's going to be the historical data versus the predicted data.
Right.
So that's one way for us to dive into it and start doing some code.
My question is,
Sure.
what did you use for the charts?
Great. I use Swift Charts. So it's an open source software library on GitHub that allows me to write in Swift to create a chart. My takeaway from it is it's a bit convoluted, and I would say out of building this entire app, the hardest part, I think it took the most time, was understanding how he built his charting library, which doesn't mean.
What's it called?
So I'll bring it up. It's Swift Charts. Swift Charts.
There's different kinds of charts. That's fine.
Right. This one right here. There's the open source. I liked it because he showed just immediately when you go to it, he's got all different styles of charts that you can make. It also supports animations, touch behavior, multiple axes.
Right.
It's pretty great, but it's just very convoluted of
In
how
what
he
sense?
structured it. So how about let's dive into the code?
Yeah.
Unless you guys have any other questions. Okay, I'll dive
You
into it.
better charge your.
Oh shoot, so that's up. Okay,
But
but
just looking 28%.
let me just pull up the, I don't know, you want to see so I've confined all the charting software, I guess you can call it, or code, into this one file right here. So I'll set up the charger and we can start talking about it. I guess I wanted to get feedback, just as a way to start things. Do you guys have any preferences on how many arguments you can pass into a function? Do you guys? It's a lot, that's why. But I'm finding when I program in Swift that a lot of arguments is kind of the way to go.
Yeah. And then there is besides, I would highly recommend passing a lot of as much arguments, and then you can make sure you document what those arguments are.
Yeah, right.
Because,
So, I'll go ahead, Jay.
or at least make your documentation in the API.
Right up here.
Yeah.
You would just put it right up here.
Something like that. Yeah.
With the three.
Yeah. But
Okay.
what you did also in your method definition, call makes it easy to understand what you're adding in.
Right. Do you mean with the indenting, or do you mean the naming?
No, not just like indenting, but also the way you named it. It's easy to read what
Right,
the
I
grammar
know.
is. Yeah, that's
So-
the key.
Best practices wise, this is kind of just how I do things, and I want to share it with everybody. Is if I do an argument, I try to make, kind of pick this up from my friend, is I try to make a method name. And if I have an argument that comes in, I usually use and, like it would be and view controller on line 17,
Yeah.
or it would be with view controller. And then just so I can keep the inputs organized within my function block, I always rename it with input and then the type that I'm passing in.
Exactly.
So it's very helpful for me. So let me just make a to-do right here. Here's what Che is saying for adding documentation. Add in Swift style documentation with 3 slashes. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
Would it be helpful if I just walk through this code?
Yeah, pretty quickly.
So it's a pretty big method. Basically this takes in a target view controller.
Okay.
Then I get a rect because that view controller, I want the size of what I'm rendering on that view controller to be kind of half the size and then have a little bit of an offset on the side because I want to get the graph to show correctly. Then as a result of some API calls, I'm going to get depths and their reception times. So that's going to be time intervals.
Right.
And these are returned as JSON strings or JSON arrays. Then I also have the projected depths, so that's going to be a future look. So this isn't actually time we have, but in the behind the scenes, they're computing this tide projections based on what the tide is now, as well as historical tide data. So that's kind of a separate time. Sorry if I'm really talking too fast. Or
No. Yeah, we got.
And then just the final 2 are going to be salinity.
Right.
And with the salinity times, time intervals, and then temperatures. So that takes care of arguments.
Okay.
I'll go really quickly through. So here's one point where this definitely screams for some refactoring. I've got 3 of these.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
to create, exactly. So this would be a good spot. So I'm just going to make a note real quick here.
Yeah, raw value as double, because I can kind of see potential crash. Because converting JSON to a value, you gotta watch out for the parsing.
Right.
And
I'm just going to make notes here.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me if you guys have any other way you want to do this. Could crash with unexpectedly found. Wow. Unwrapping.
I'm not sure I had those, mostly because of my hookups being wrong or missing hookups. The worst one is, there's one error I really hate more than that one, is the array index outer box, because it can come from so many other sources. That's why using enums really helps instead of indices whenever possible, until they increase potentials.
So I'm seeing this function from 37 to 57.
Right.
This can totally be refactored so that it takes in an array and it spits out an array of chart points. So that's basically what this thing does.
Yeah.
So that's a potential right there.
Right.
I do the same thing for the projected depths. I also do the same thing for the projected depths and also for historical depths.
Right.
And I think I do the same thing for temperature and salinity, so this is perfect. I apologize for this ugly code because I was just jamming to get this project done.
Exactly.
So that's kind of why it's so fugly.
Fugly.
And then I'm just going to keep going just so I can get the whole method listed out. Then I've got a function here.
Fixed bug causes program to crash with device rotated. Love that one.
So on line 127, this whole function right here is, we have so many data points coming in, that the chart, when you like scroll through it or you open it up, you zoom into it, there's so many data points that it kind of like slows down the app. So this thin function 127 just kind of takes every 100 data points.
Yeah, in fact, that's a technique I use in, there's a financial portion of my app that covers like 30 years. 30 years, and then what I had to do is kind of scale.
Right.
I had to write a separate helper.
Right.
I probably can't show that part because it's generic.
Right.
No.
So talking about, I heard you say a helper. I'm thinking potentially for this thin function, this can be used on anything. It's just array based. So I'm thinking about for this one, we'll refactor it to a helper class.
Yeah, exactly. see, if you see functionality that can use multiple places, you could put this, let's say, in a protocol and use a default. Because sometimes if you use that thin function in multiple files.
Right. So Chad, remember we talked about before we started the meetup and protocol based.
Yeah.
So how about this is an opportunity for us to do it with protocol?
Yeah. You don't have to do it now, but.
Yeah, I'm just making notes right now.
Yeah.
Protocol. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? You just keep going.
Keep going.
Okay.
So that, yeah, they just have the helper class. So that's pretty much, it's just another class that will do something for another class.
Yeah, and then my stipulation on top of that, just my own personal ideas, is I want to make all the methods in that helper class static. So I have 0 memory leakage. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you don't instantiate error.
Yeah.
You just use it as a
Just want to use
function,
it.
though.
Then I can test it too. So for example, I have this conversion method. I don't want to get too off topic, but I think it's in gauges. And these are all static, so I'm option click so we don't lose all static. So I can test all of these, I can give it an input and an output, verify that it actually works. So these are just the temperature conversions and feet to meter conversions. So that's where I'd like to head, but then maybe just focus on making it a protocol if possible.
Okay, how do you call it? You just write gauge dot and whatever function, right? Just Okay.
And in fact, just to let you know, in my method, yeah, I think I'm gonna, those unit conversions, make it into a protocol because you're only using it so often that in
Might as
many
well.
files, yeah. In fact, I did some of them, man, I gotta clean up my protocol, I think.
So I'm gonna make a note from what you just said, Jay, and I'm gonna put here to do, turn this into a protocol rather than have a class.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna have to make more protocols because I find myself repeating code like crazy. You see now, if you find yourself repeating functionality over several, that's when it makes sense to do protocols to avoid data method duplication.
Right.
I gotta do that too. But anyways.
Okay, so we did the thinning method so far, and then now here we get into how this guy has created his charting library and how to use it. So generate date, it takes in. I'm gonna go piece by piece.
No, I think I kind of got the feel for it, and it is fairly challenging.
It's convoluted. So we're using a date formatter for this. This is just so we can convert the time interval, which is the amount of seconds that have elapsed since, I believe, January 1st, 1970.
Right.
That's just counted as numbers. I think we just hit like 15 million or something just recently.
Yeah.
But these methods right here are just to convert it into like a time readable.
Right.
So the way I took it from this one is
date formatter.
Yeah, so I just, for these ones too, just so I wouldn't have to write out or have, one thing that stuck out for me was what Adam Smith kept talking about is stringly typed, like maybe a date format. So what I did was I created an enumeration, and I called it format display. I really dislike these namings, but I'm going to jump to this definition, and it's just an enumeration, just so I have different types of date format that I can just pop in, because I need different types of displays. For example,
I could definitely borrow that part.
Yeah, so
and then
for
I'll
this
let
one,
you borrow something. Because
So-
I have okay.
So for this one, I have, so Wednesday, 8:54 a.m.,
Right.
10/18/2017. That's actually just a time interval.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using the date formatter with a day, which I have to bring in the calendar as well, a time, and then the date and all that kind of stuff. So the date formatter allows me to swap these out and change the display of the time interval very easily. Okay, so moving back in, and then going back out of this class, back into here. Is this helpful? Is this good?
Very useful. Very
Okay.
useful.
Very useful.
Okay, so I'll keep going. So we generated the date, we're doing the date formatter. I set up the X label generator date. It's just saying what labels will show up on the X axis. And then finally here, this feels like it could be better. I'm just initializing these.
Right.
And I also maybe this is a good time to talk about this, is when you do an initialization within Xcode,
Right.
within a class, it's required that you have some kind of variable initialized, right?
Right.
If you're going to use it. But I don't know if I'm going off topic.
No, you're not.
So for example, like these, so for first reception time, if we instantiate it or we declare it here, and it's not being instantiated, what am I trying to get to here? I guess it's just being set here.
Right.
This to me feels like it's just horribly placed, as well as it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, it has a code smell to me. I'm not sure what I would call it. But the fact that I have all this code up here, and then I'm actually doing some declarations of new variables here, I understand it's close to where it's going to be called.
Right.
But for me, this just like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like the best way to do things. You guys have any strong preferences or best practices?
So where is it getting set? Is it getting set on the
Right below.
on the line below?
Yeah, so right here.
Anyways, you should, okay, in this case, is there any dependencies? You could always put all your declarations at the top, provided there are no dependencies. Because sometimes
Right.
where you define stuff will matter, that's
Right.
why I found out.
Right, if it's being used prior to where it's being declared,
Yeah,
it won't run.
right.
Yeah.
So what you could do, since there's no other parts of the code, right?
Mhm.
Depend on that stuff at the beginning, right? You could always put it on the top, see what happens.
Let's talk about that though. I mean, so just to put it in context, having a variable declaration in the middle of a huge block of code,
Right.
just smells to me. So, Jay, you're mentioning moving it to the top,
Right.
and I want to just share the reason why I don't move it to the top is like there's like some kind of computer science word where it's like keep your code
Close.
very close to where
Exactly.
it's being used.
Exactly.
So, do you guys have like a strong preference either way? Just whatever.
But you know, for me, I would probably more likely do what you did right here.
Just
Put
put it
your
right
code
there.
close to the definition.
Okay.
Because if you have too many variables on top,
Right. So scrolling, right?
not just scrolling, but you might forget what is what. But the thing is, maybe somehow, there's another way. In this case, there's not much you can do about it.
Okay. It's good to hear as well.
Because, yeah, you talk, but at the same time, it's basically define the variable and then use it at, closer, less scrolling, especially if the code is
Right.
big.
I think it make in a different like figure out that won't make sense for like maintainability reasons. I've always like put everything like on the top.
Right.
But I don't know, just an idea, and I know it's not very dry, but you could put all your variables on the top, and then closer to your function, just make a comment. Then copy and paste this, and just make all of them comments.
That's another way.
Maybe with like a note, hey, this is like HICapacity, this is what this is.
That makes
Exactly.
sense.
It's being used that way.
In
Like,
fact-
like refer all the way to the top.
Right.
You forget something.
That makes sense. That's a good
In other
point.
words, it's basically what I said earlier. When you have to, you could make, instead of put everything at the top, but just document what variables you're initializing at each stage.
Right.
In fact, I've been kind of doing that. Like I said, documentation is a big issue at this point, especially code like this.
Yeah. This is me running at it, just no idea of cleaning it, like trying to stay clean while I'm coding it, but also like getting feature requests, just trying to just wrap with that.
Oh, guaranteed!
You know?
I can tell you, when you do that, you're gonna have issues coming up
Oh,
later on.
absolutely, yeah. So, moving on, or you guys got more comments or questions?
Now, this is good so far.
Tyler, you got any questions or comments? Okay, I'll keep going. All right, so the first state and the last state take care of how long the chart's going to be, the XYs. Moving on, so we get the reception time. This is how I just set it up for the first reception time and then the last one. And then finally through here, we're actually creating chart points here. This one is for Solidity. I think I've reviewed all of these already. Has tons of to-dos in here, stuff that needs to be cleaned up and updated. Naming conventions, so. And then actually when we're creating the X model here, we get the first value. This is just creating the axes as well again. Finally, we're going in here, so this chart points depth is going to be historical depth, readings, and we're just creating the X and Y values for finding the span of how large we have to create this chart. Moving down further, kind of just figuring out how much space is going to be between each of these, because within this charting library, you're able to zoom in on the X and the Y, and then it does its own internal algorithm that figures out what to line out for each date once you've done a different zoom factor. It's pretty complicated. I mean, it's just complicated.
I have a question.
Sure.
I mean, is this the code itself, or is it just you written this?
So this was an example code that I kind of bootstrapped, changed up. But everything in here is being used.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's,
see, because I'm using a different charts.
Which one are you using?
It's called Charts.
Charts. And it's an Apple one, right?
No. It's a open source.
Okay.
It was a port of the Android charts. I'll show you later.
Yes.
Similar.
Is that what you're using too?
Daniel, Indy is the one that.
Yeah, and I had to update it because guess why? Because Swift4 broke some of the stuff.
Yeah.
It's
so
good
charts.
Yeah.
Okay, my prayer.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'll switch over to this.
But there are few bugaboos.
Okay, like what?
I'll show you in the app.
Okay.
I'll show you in the app what kind of issues I was running into. You know the charting when I showed you the app?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's me or it's just a charts framework, but I'll show you.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm just going to keep going through. So we've taken care of creating the axes. Next, for each of these, we have a thing called chart line model. And for each of these, each of these is going to be a line that's being displayed. So this is a line, or this dotted line is a line model. This is actually a projected one right here with the dash pattern. And then we also have this line model depth is the line that's meant to show up here over this gradient. But I just, for the life of me, if we could solve this tonight, I mean, I don't want to take up all of it. If we could get that line to draw, I'd be happy with that. That's one way for us to kind of go into it. But just, I'll keep going. So these 4 lines, they can be charted. And then container points for these. Okay, this is just to create that gradient. And then we finally get to the touch behaviors here. So we have this settings being set up right here. We have a view that gets these things added to it that needs to be removed once we redraw the chart. And then finally in here, we're getting our touch point location, and then we're querying the array of historical depths, projected depths, salinity, and temperatures. And then we're just returning the scalar that's associated with the point that's being touched. All this kind of stuff. It's just, this could be extracted as well to find out a day of the week based on a time interval. And then this is just displays, so a lot of this wasn't used. This was just kind of show an image of the moon with its current lunar phase.
You can add that later.
Yeah, it looks pretty good with it in. But I had wanted to do a conversion from the English words for the moon to the Hawaiian lunar phases.
Right.
But it's actually a lot more complicated.
So in what sense?
There's like different time intervals.
Oh, I see.
It's a really shifting thing.
I see.
And then finally, within this, this circle right here gets put onto it right where you do a touch location, just to kind of see the correspond easily. So that's it for touches, and then notifications.
Charts of something similar to it.
And then finally for this one, if the tide maybe gets to like 2 feet, I do a nice little pop-up that just shows like, whoa, this is like a 2-foot tide right here, which is cool. Will show up, and then I think that's the end of it.
That's it.
There's more. There's more. So there's more settings, more lines in between the layers, and that's pretty much it. And finally, I have an extension on double to round to 2 places, so it doesn't if it's like a recurrent or repeating decimal, I don't want to show that because then it'll get that gross button label. True. Show.
Or you could.
So just
Yeah. Or
shrunk it down.
that's one way, or just when you print out, you can use string format.
Ah,
C,
shoot, yeah, the
2D,
2D, right?
2D or 2F.
Right.
That's another way of doing it.
Okay, so that's the code right there for the graph.
It kind of reminds me of C in that card.
Right, yeah, right. And Objective-C too. The
Yeah, C, Objective-C.
percentage.
Yep.
Okay.
Just gotta remember which format though. And then
The D, F.
yeah, X.
Yeah.
Right, those are more.
Okay, so that's the code right there.
Yep.
So we've gone through the code. I've shown it running, and we've also identified a couple of spots to kind of comment on. Yeah, to clean really. Did you guys have any preferences of what you want to do next? Are you want to talk about anything or ask questions? You guys?
Here's
Or we
okay.
can review the charting. thing.
Yeah. This is an example, right?
Nice. And you've got the fitting within there.
No, it doesn't scale, but there's one port where I use that. It's in the financial calculator. It's not quite done yet, but because you could 30 years at 360, I'm not going to show all 360. That's impossible. So what you do is basically, depending on the number of years, you basically mod out and scale, and then you do some conversions, funky conversions. And let me find the code.
Okay.
I did that. That's
While you're doing that,
PDFs.
you guys have any preferences? No?
So I don't know what would be maybe like a good start.
I guess, okay, so let's. Yeah,
I'm
let's
trying
make
to
it
try to
start.
figure out like where you can add the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I'm very visual, so if we could get this line to show up. Shoot, sorry. We get this line right here, over here, to show up.
To kind of match, the
Yeah,
right side.
that's pretty much it. Yeah, we can just kind of jam on that. And it'll be a good way for us to kind of visually see what's happening.
Oh, so basically a layered chart, like when I showed the after, like I have 3 different line charts running at the same time.
Exactly, exactly. So right now in the code, these are 4 different line models.
Right. What you could do for each line, you show a different color too.
I do, yeah, I totally do. I mean, for these right here, it's purple, and the
Right.
other one's purple as well, but
Right.
this one has a dash pattern, which
Right.
will allow us to kind of differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing this one has a dash pattern too, so I'll delete it. Wait, let me other side. Let me just do a commit real quick before
Yeah.
we. So,
Yeah, exactly. For George.
commit. Let's
Find it.
for refactoring. Okay. So I'm going to remove this dash pattern right here, just so we have a differentiation between the two. Saving that, and then I'm also going to show this depth, that this is being, so these two right here, this is where the models are drawn.
Right.
So it's definitely in here. And if I take out, so we have the line model, so this is historical, not this one. This one's historical, and then this one's the projected one.
Right.
So if I take out the projection, okay, and I run it, we're not going to see any line here.
Okay.
But we'll still see the gradient because that's being added for the
Right.
So here we go. I'm going to go to the HICapacity. I'd like to rewire the storyboard just so it jumps right to this, but it's passing in data too, so
You do one thing at a time.
right. So now no dotted line showing,
I see.
but we have the line pattern still in there.
Right.
I'll bring it back in just to be pedantic about it
Yeah.
and show that. So the line model depth projection shows up.
Right.
Alright, so we're going in.
Before I find the color here, just that.
And the line comes in.
I see. Actually.
So that's where we're at.
Can you jump to the I guess to that function?
Sure.
That function where it's getting declared?
Where it's getting declared.
Yeah, in the library or in the same
Which one do you want to focus on?
that
Historical?
the chart cone line layer.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, the function.
Oh,
Yeah.
this right here. Okay.
Is that coming from the library, right?
This is the library.
Okay.
You want to see the definition?
Yeah. Can we jump to
Sure.
it?
So I'm going to hold down Command, click on this guy, and jump to definition. Here we go. So we're passing in multiple line models. Let me know where you want to go from here.
So screen lines is what's getting created, right?
Screen lines, where you break.
Yeah.
Did you want to jump on screen hero? And then you can actually just control to, if you want to.
From here?
Yeah, from there. And then you can actually scroll through the code and everything. I'll add you. Okay. I have to wait till you log on. While you're doing that, I'm just going to jump in the bathroom real quick. Nice. Okay.
And pop a few crashes, which it's really.
Yeah, I mean, so they just like call?
I think I need to call you. So I'm not seeing you showing up on here, but maybe I need to, let me try and add you on here. Do you see your,
It says it's clicked and it says you're sharing, like, try later.
okay, let me stop the share on here and then I should be able to share it with both you and the iLab one. So let's see, or, yeah, let's stop the share here. And I will, I'm not seeing online though.
Yeah, it says online here.
So what was your,
Let's see.
maybe I can,
Is
I
it-
don't know if I can add you here.
Is it error?
You know what, I think I actually, this is not being streamed. If I have your email address, just what you're sending me. I think I sent the invitation from the iLab one, that's fine.
Oh, there you go. Well,
Okay, so I'm gonna share, first we'll share with you, and I'll also share. Okay. This one over here. And then I just have to reset a few more things here. Capture. Okay. All right. And then are you able to move my screen? There you go. All right. So feel free to talk us through or however you want to run it.
so this line right here, right? This
Screen
one,
lines.
it gets created, right?
Yeah.
So it gets. So this will get initialized on here, right?
So it's going to be that line models on line 91. that's what's, so the init is getting called. I'm just gonna drive for a bit.
Yep.
So I'm going back to where this is being called. And so we're doing in, I guess the init is implicit in here. I'm gonna option click so you can see them, or what was this? Option command click to open up a new thing so we can see them side by side now. And we are running with here. So this is calling this right here.
Okay, so it's line models, okay, line models. Let's see what initialize here. What else it's doing here?
So then it gets called with, oh,
not there, right? Display. Initialize. So use. Generate. It depends on you. Okay, so this will give you all the options and like a dash pattern.
Yep.
But it does not give you another option, right? So dash pattern, you have to just specify specific dash pattern.
Yes.
You don't have like, you can say like, make it solid, make it dotted.
No. It's going to be how long do you want the line and how much of a space do you want inside. It's defined as an array, just like doubles. Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to say, which is what my process is going to say. If there's a way that it's this white, yeah, so it's this white draws the line. So chart drawer content, right? You draw it.
The breakpoint in there. The thing is that it'll draw. It was drawing this line before, then I updated some code, and then it just doesn't draw this line. I put in other lines, it draws those fine. It's just this one it does not draw.
Oh, I see what they did. I see what they did. Trust your filter.
You have an idea?
No, not quite. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm just looking at one of the code I was looking at. Sorry about that.
I mean, it makes me think that line model depth on line 518 on the left hand side is just like, maybe it's not being initialized correctly. I don't see anything different from it from line model depth projections.
Okay, the trolley, so.
I wonder also if the line model, the reception times associated with the line model depth is being drawn out off of the chart somehow. I don't know. We could inspect the actual time intervals in that.
Hey, you want to try this?
Yeah, let's try that.
I'm trying to like figure it out,
Oh,
or it makes sense.
Okay, so I'm going to put a breakpoint in here. I'm going to run this guy. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going compare those two. So I'm just making some notes for myself here. Okay, so I want to just inspect line model depth to ensure time intervals are within graph bounds. Okay. So I need to trigger it.
It's easy to mess up.
Yeah, I think it might be it might be being drawn, but just off the screen.
It's possible.
Okay, so we have here, this is one thing also I want to run into, is within the console, for some reason with my Xcode, I don't know if it's because I have Firebase Analytics installed, but I cannot print anything on LLDB.
Really?
So for example, this has been created already, we're stopped at this line, it's definitely in scope. I'm going to copy that, and I just want a PO. Watch, it's going to work because you guys are, no, nothing. Any ideas on that one?
No.
That one has been debilitating for my development.
You don't know what.
I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
So, but okay, so let's look into it in the object. So chart point stack, we have 505 values. So for the first one, X would be this. That's going to be the X. So what I'm going to do here is spacebar. I'll copy this time into. We'll click this. It's not letting me in. So I'm going to just make a note for myself here. Oh, there we go. Copy this. I want to do a conversion to get a Unix timestamp on this one. I'm just going to go online. Let's see. Hey, how's it going? I want to go for a Unix timestamp conversion. And I've been using this one. So I paste it in and find out this is for Monday, October 16th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to copy that. So that's what this is. This is equivalent. All right, so now I'm going to look at my chart. Please let me know if you guys have any questions or whatever. I'm going to look at the chart now to see if Monday the 16th at 5 o'clock is even on the chart. Okay, so we're in a, and I'll actually do the other side of it too. Just the, so we have the 2 timestamps. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to grab the final one in this listing. It's 505 values. Here we are here. I'm going to get the X value on this one for the time interval. Double clicking to get to it. That's not working. Do a space bar. That's still not working. Not really sure how I got to select this. I'm just going to paste and copy it. 1508475 000. Okay, that's the correct amount of digits. Over here, pasting it in, submitting. So that's going to be Friday, the 20th of October. So that should be showing up on our. I think I know what it is now.
What? What's the issue?
No, I'm wrong. So I'm going to finish writing out these. So I have this tab here, or this time frame. Going back to the chart to make sure that this is being shown. Where is the chart? It's going to be in here. So now I'm going to just advance from here, play through. Now we have the list. So that should be here to here, right? Guys?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a week and a half ago, and then we have our now right here. So I'm going to click on now to find out what this is. So this is Thursday at 5 p.m. on 10/19. Go back to what the time interval says. So this is the 20th. So it looks like it's maybe getting information from further than should be drawn in this graph. Let's see. Thursday, 5 p.m. Thursday to Friday. And I have a feeling that perhaps you guys want to keep pursuing this, or any questions or requests for other stuff? Okay, we'll keep pursuing it then.
Keep on.
Just different time zone. Is it you that have like a different time zone?
Maybe. So let's see. Oh man, I'm just getting lost in. Okay, so I got these two. I verified these two timestamps. I've got a ton of information here, and it should show. Just this line to show. Keep going for the next 4 minutes. So I've got Thursday, 10:19 as the last bit in this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update the construction of the graph that is being created with these chart points. I believe that's going to be up here. This down. Right here. Chart points depth. First date, okay. First date, last date. So I guess the next thing I want to do is I want to check on these two time intervals to see if my X model is showing the correct amount of time intervals. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here, stop execution, and run again so I can inspect these two. Time interval since 1970, jumping to it because I don't remember the definition of this. Okay, so it's foundation. So this will get my time intervals in seconds based on this first date. Running back over to the app, heading back in, making sure I'm getting the right data point. Where are you? Zooming in. Picking the correct one, there we go, and then stopping here. Now I want to see, this is kind of what grinds my gears right here, is that because I can't access the console to have the program execute some code, like I just want this date to get a time interval, I can't just paste this in here. It just doesn't work. So if anyone on the stream as well, if you know this, please message me. I don't know why my LLDB is not working. So first date, let's just find it in here. Collapse this. First date right here. Okay, so 10:16 to 10:23. So the last date is in here. And that's going to be as 10:23, but it shouldn't be 10:23. Actually, it should be 10:23. Your cursor moving.
Oh, sorry. I'm actually on.
I was like, oh, you got something.
No.
No.
Alright. I'm just going to keep staring at this until it makes sense.
So there's no way for you to look at the model, the values of the models,
I can see it in here, the object viewer.
but not inside.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
It's such a pain. I don't know what it is. It's almost like it's the debugger is refreshing itself. Like as soon as it prints something out.
I see.
I don't know. But running Xcode 9.1 beta. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it's a beta.
All right. Well, it's 7 o'clock on my computer. I want to respect everyone's time. I'm going to stop the stream. Thanks for your attention and for being here. We're going to go for another hour off the stream. Thanks everyone for being here for the stream. We're going to quit it